So glad you can join us on a Monday. Thanks for allowing us to be a part of your day here on RFD TV and on Rural Radio, Channel 147 on Sirius XM. I'm Marlon Bowling with you as we get your trade started here on the Ag Futures today. And just for good measure, along the way, we're going to bring in a little expert commentary. We're going to bring in DeweyStrickler of AgWatch Market Advisors. He's based in Franklin, Kentucky. Dewey, so glad to have you with us. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, I had a good weekend. Glad to be here.
All right, let's open up our grain trade and take a peek on the corn market today. Now, of course, keep in mind we have the big USDA reports coming out tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time. And so the markets were expected to be fairly quiet today. Well, it looks like the trade watchers have kind of got their wish this morning. December corn is just down one tick, a quarter of a cent lower at 356.5. And in fact, the March contract is unchanged. And 369 is the last trade, and now it's one tick higher. Okay, let's take a look at the soybean market. How's it opening up this morning? Well, a little bit of firmness here. We have November soybeans now 3 1/4 higher at 965 1/4. It's right in the middle of its overnight trading range. It had a trading range last night that was about 7 cents wide. January up 3 1/2 at 975 1/2. Meanwhile, on the wheat trade, how's it opening up? Well, we had pressure overnight, and it continues this morning. December down 4 1/4 at 433 1/2 on the Chicago market. On the Kansas City December, we are down 6 1/4 at 435 1/4. Remember, they're getting ready to plant wheat if they're not starting already in some areas. Let's take a look at Minneapolis wheat, and here we have the December down 8 at 638 3/4. Cotton market this morning in the early going is down 224 points in December at 72.35. So, Dewey, let's talk about this market here. Going both directions so far, kind of quiet on the corn, a little firmness in the soybeans. Is any of that related to all that moisture that could be moving into the eastern half of the Corn Belt here this week?
Well, it very well could be. I mean, it's not going to have much impact on the corn market, but you got to remember here, too, that this storm Irma did take a little bit of a westward turn at Georgia, going through Alabama. It'll clip a little bit of Mississippi and Tennessee and also in Kentucky. And I guess there's a little bit of concern that it could create maybe a little bit of a damage there. But I know, like in our situation, we're probably will get about 2 inches worth of rain. And some places in the Midwest would like to see a little bit of rain on because of dry conditions. But there may be a little bit of concern with Irma here. You know, we won't know how much rain is going to drop till it comes over.
And in case our viewers and listeners missed it, USDA did announce an overnight sale of soybeans this morning. It was a fairly sizable amount, too. It turned out to be a total of 352,000 tons of soybeans that were sold to unknown destinations for the 2017 and 2018 marketing year. So that was a little bit of a feather in the cap for the soybean bulls out there. And then also on the pre-report estimates coming up tomorrow, looks like a survey of analysts done by the Wall Street Journal shows they expect corn production to be about 14 billion bushels. It looks like they're looking at soybean production at 4.3 billion bushels with a corn yield of 167.8. That would be bushels per acre, and the soybean yield at about 48.7. So that's what the trade is generally looking for when we get into that report tomorrow. What's your key number going to be there, Dewey?
Well, I don't know that there's going to be a key number in yield. I think what people trade will look at maybe a little more closely, and that is, does USDA tinker with harvested acres? That could have a big impact on this report.
Okay, Dewey, we'll come back in a moment, and we'll talk a little livestock market action as well. Our guest, DeweyStrickler of AgWatch Market Advisors. We'll be back with Dewey right after this. We are talking with DeweyStrickler of AgWatch Market Advisors in Franklin, Kentucky, and he joins us right now. Dewey, want to open up our livestock trade and get your early thoughts on the trade here today. Let's go take a look at live cattle. On the live cattle board right now as we go to Chicago for live quotes. As we're opening up today, the first trade that we see on October would be up about 55 cents now at 107.88 per hundredweight. And we have December now opening up at 113.50, now 113.48, so that would be 63 cents higher on the day. And you have your February contract 48 higher at 117.10. That would be per hundredweight, of course, and that is now on the high of the day. That's interesting there. Now looking at the feeder cattle trade. So far this morning, a firmer tone across the board, and we have the most strength shown in November. That's interesting, too. Out there a couple of months. We have September up 63 at 148.50. We have October 95 higher at 149.38. And we have November and now up $1.30, up $1.03 at 149.25. Now October bumped up to go $1.02 higher at 149.45. So first thoughts on this cattle market here, Dewey, this morning?
Well, first of all, we got a nice little recovery from the lows that we made here last week. Market simply just got a little bit oversold here. We'll likely meet some resistance on the October contract up here at 109 area. One thing we're going to have to get through here, and that is going to be the fourth quarter supply here in the cattle market. It's a little bit on the heavy side, so it might be a little tough for the market to move above this 109 and especially above the 111 area.
Okay, let's take a look at our livestock summary from last week just to get everybody updated on the numbers in the cash market for the cattle out in the plains. Let's take a closer look here. So on a live basis last Friday, according to USDA, it looks like the market was basically about steady with a market range of 102 to 105 per hundredweight. And it looks like on a dress basis, we had a market established at about 163 to 165 or so. In Iowa, looks like we sold about 1,800 head at that level. It looks like in Nebraska, everything brought 163 on Friday on a dress basis, and that was about 7,800 head that sold there. They had the bulk of activity, the way it appears, in the northern plains last Friday afternoon. I want to take a look here at the open on the lean hogs here, Dewey, this morning. And on the lean hog trade, you know, this is a market that's been struggling quite a while. Right now we're down again. We have October down 45 at 61.70, and now you have December 57 lower at 58.33 in the early going this morning. And that's against the backdrop of primal cuts last Friday that were lower once again. We had carcass values down 79 cents. It looks like that belly market was down 365 Friday afternoon, according to USDA. What's going to happen here in the hogs this week, Dewey?
I think we're going to stay in a range here. Last week, we gapped a little bit lower on the October contract, and the following day, we came up to the gap area, but we didn't try to fill it. So we're looking at an inside day here right now. And, of course, with the cutout down and so forth, I think that we're not going to see the hog market go much of anywhere here. I would expect to see it to stay in a trade range here for the next several days, maybe the rest of the week.
Okay, Dewey, thank you for the information. Good to visit with you again. DeweyStrickler of AgWatch Market Advisors in Franklin, Kentucky. So, Christina, we're off and rolling. A little firmness in the cattle market in the early going today.
Okay, we'll keep watching it. Thank you, Markets Editor Marlon Bowling.